Hi, Roy here on my channel Roy Reads Anything. Anything including books about Cleopatra, which I've been doing in November, designating it a reading month, Cleovember, for myself, and some folks joined in too. I'll give some shout outs in another video later, and also I've created a playlist of where creators have done Cleopatra related stuff. So been kind of interesting doing a sort of deep dive into one character in all sorts of various ways. Good, and there's loads left that I haven't even started. Looking forward to maybe doing some more Cleopatra related reading in the future. But I read this month Talbot Mundy's Queen Cleopatra, which I talked a little bit about in another video, but yeah, this was good. It was a historical adventure, also part of his Tross series, although Tross, a sort of warrior pirate ship's captain character who's fighting Rome throughout his career, isn't in it that much, but does play quite a crucial role, and there's a fantastic ending. The very ending's brilliant, I think. But it's historical stuff where it's Cleopatra and Julius Caesar, that sort of phase of things, and mysticism, or sort of the Egyptian religion, which is this sort of mystery religions, which I don't think people actually know really exactly how they worked. Talbot Mundy was, at this point, he was a follower of Helena Blavatsky and Theosophy, which was actually quite popular and almost mainstream at the time, I think. This was written in the 1920s. So I suspect some of Mundy's theosophical beliefs have been sort of grafted in as the underpinning philosophy of the Egyptian spirituality, which is sort of shown as being the superior one, because obviously there's the Roman gods as well, and it's really interesting having characters like Caesar and Cleopatra debating the merits of becoming gods themselves. So yeah, lots of interesting stuff, some big set-piece battles, some small-scale dramatic incidents, great characters. I said before, Mundy seems to really excel at writing about powerful individuals and how they interact with each other. So really enjoyed that. I had hoped to read a couple more novels, but because of a week being a bit under the weather, I've only read one more, which was this, Queen of Kings, Maria Devanha Headley, Queen of Kings. So a lot of us, you watch or read Shakespeare's Antony and Cleopatra, and you sort of wish Cleopatra didn't die at the end. She doesn't in this. She becomes a vampire. Yes. Which is great. So
it's what we've always wanted.
Well, it sort of is. I mean, it still ties into the historical story with Emperor Augustus and that kind of stuff, and becomes a vampire, and it's sort of it's almost like the Marvel universe in that the different cosmologies, the gods and goddesses and so on, from the Egyptians, the Romans, the Greeks, they all exist and function. So people can go to Hades, but they can also go, so there's also the Egyptian brand of afterlife. So there's all of this going on, and this crazy clashes of things. Whereas Dracula comes from the kind of European folk tradition, and therefore he's kind of some of his vampire shtick, things like commanding wolves and changing into a wolf, or bats and things. Cleopatra's Egyptian, so you've got serpents and lions and all sorts of creatures like that. Even in huge battles with Roman soldiers.
Well, I think
and
he's got a better deal there.
yeah, well, kind of, yeah. So it's a bit like Revenge of the Animals, you know, the ones who've been in the Circus Maximus.
Yeah.
Now it's their turn to.
Excellent.
And there's so Octavian, Emperor Augustus, you know, he's really frightened because Cleopatra hasn't actually died. He thinks correctly that she's going to, she's looking to eliminate him. So he gets Marcus Agrippa to find 3 powerful sorcerers from all across the world. So it's like a sort of Avengers type of thing with these different sorcerers. There's a northern seeress, an African sorcerer, and a follower of Hecate. So again, that brings in yet more kind of sort of arcane belief systems, and they battling each other, and it's fantastic. So it's meant to be first of a series, although there hasn't been a sequel yet. I hope there is. I'd certainly read more Maria Devanha Headley. She's written a book called Mere Wife, which is a modern day retelling of the Beowulf legend. So mere body of water with a monster in it, but it could be mere wife. See what she did there?
Got your play on words.
Yeah. So fantastic. So that was my last main read. I mentioned in the video about comics that I'd read like 50 comics, and then I tried making a video that it was too long. I had another look at that, and yes, 26 minutes of me going through comic after comic after comic, and that was only like the first third of them. Wasn't great, but I've salvaged 2 minutes from that video, which I'm going to slot in now. Here come the comics. Story was called All for the Love of a Woman. It comes to a tragic end. So the Joker is trying to steal Cleopatra's necklace. Now they find a skeleton of a woman in queen's robes. Could it be? And the idea is it could be the asp could be a descendant of the original asp. So yes, archaeology equals danger. For here in England, young Marvel Man had to recover Cleopatra's needles. My supervision reveals this is the secret location of Cleopatra's ancient tomb. Ha! It's a double honour for me, a Roman, to be chosen by the Nile Queen as guardian of this peace banner. I've never read much Asterix. God, I've never read much Asterix, really, out of loyalty to Tintin. There's an ongoing joke about her having a beautiful nose.
The way you do.
But did you have Xena bloodlines? But then sometimes Cleopatra is being returned from a sort of afterlife. That's way out of time sequence. It's due to a mix-up. Mr. Doldrum, allow me to present to you Cleopatra, fairest queen who ever lived. Opts to stay on Earth, helping out his business. They actually end up helping her save the world anyway, sort of freed from the usual siren-like situation. It's got Cleopatra on the cover. My slave Superboy brings jewels fit for a queen. And this opens with, I think, a fantastically beautiful and striking opening scene. So it's modern day, at the time, 1940s, and Cleopatra's barge, with its full complement of gorgeousness and opulence, is sailing into New York Harbour. That's the way it went down in those days. So yes, a glimpse of the world of Cleopatra in comics. I think I focused on things that I found interesting or amusing, and probably not on depictions of Cleopatra as a strong woman, and you do get that in some of the comics, although it occurred to me that perhaps one reason you don't is that the Cleopatraness has almost been dispersed into other characters. You know, if you've got, say, Xena or Wonder Woman already, then that's sort of where some of those qualities have gone, he says haltingly.
And you can't have two strong women on the screen at the same time.
No, apparently not. No, it's an unwritten contract of society.
It's a bit like matter and antimatter meeting.
Exactly so, yes, yeah. And that's why Cleopatra had to die by asp.
Okay.
So, in reality, I'm not quite old enough to have been around in Cleopatra's time, but I have been to the Egyptian escalator in Harrods. So Harrods is a big, super posh, basically department store in London that's been around for years and years. Fills a whole, I think what Americans would call a block. Very ornate, and at one point the sort of central escalator part was remade as this Egyptian thing with carvings by an artist called William Mitchell, a gorgeous kind of Egyptian sky, a sphinx at the top with the face of Mohammed Al Fayed, the owner at the time of Harrods, on it. And it's amazing because you're drifting up in this kind of environment with beautiful perfumes and luxurious goods all around you. So it really is like being in Cleopatra's mausoleum, surrounded by riches. And talking of mausoleums, at the time I went, at the bottom, you know, before you've ascended to the heavens, at the bottom of this Egyptian escalator is a shrine to Princess Diana and Dodi Al Fayed, with an actual reliquary, I think it's called. So there's objects in there, including a wine glass, supposedly the last glass she drank from, with lipstick on it.
Oh God, really?
I know. I mean, I thought.
I complained to the washing officer.
Lois, yeah, send it back to the bar. I thought Lois Lane 22, where Lois Lane puts Cleopatra's lipstick on, was a bit weird, but real life is even stranger. And I guess in our lifetimes, when even we're not really royalists, but when
Meaning Jenny's a rabid Republican.
they don't bother me. But
Jenny's a rabid
Jenny's less keen. But that week when the Princess Di was being transported along motorways and people were lining bridges and throwing flowers down on the vehicle, I suppose that's the closest we've come to the experience of a human being being seen as almost divine, in a Cleopatra-ish fashion. But just to round off, in Shakespeare's Antony and Cleopatra, Cleopatra foresees the possibility that she'd be paraded through the streets and mocked by comedians. And having seen all these representations of Cleopatra, I'd say she was probably right. You know, there are lots of kind of ridiculous satirical versions of her, but also at the same time, and often even in the same representation, she's also like all kinds of hero, and will, I think, go on and on. So, yep, Cleovember, been fantastic. Sure we'll be revisiting her. Other videos might surface as well from other creators with other things to talk about. So that's that. Back soon with something else.